Hello and welcome to Brogna Arts. Today I am doing a Meet the Artist illustration page. I will talk through my painting process and hopefully you will be able to learn more about the person behind the brush along the way. I am doing a self-portrait in my typical painting attire, which is PJs, bathrobe, and messy hair. This is what I look like on an average day of painting when the cameras are off. I was debating what kind of self-portrait I wanted to do for the illustration. I decided to do this sort of semi-realistic style because this is what I most commonly do for commissions. But I did another messy hair version of my cute little profile image just for fun. The first fact about me is my name is Lewis. I go by he, him pronouns, and I run Brogna Arts. I came up with the name Brogna Arts just because it's my last name with arts attached. It's not super special. And the Italians watching will say it's pronounced Brogna. Don't worry, I know, but that's a whole different story. To get the reference image for this, I took a picture of myself on my phone with the self-timer. I'm using my White Nights watercolors in a Strathmore 300 journal. When painting, I usually start with the skin because I think it is the hardest part. It scares me a little because the skin and face are very important to getting someone's likeness, and there's a lot that can go wrong. I like to slowly build up the skin by layering and adding more color and depth each time. Skin probably takes me the most time, and I'm still working on ways to improve painting skin with watercolors. I usually save the eyes towards the end because they are small, tight details. For skin colors, I usually do a different mix of the primaries depending on the skin tone. For light skin folks, my go-to colors are cadmium yellow, cadmium red light, and ultramarine. For deeper skin tones, I typically add more raw sienna or burnt umber to match the skin color. In this speed paint, you can see me slowly adding layers of the cadmium yellow and red mixed together to start to build up those shadows in light glazes. Then I follow with the ultramarine to neutralize the heavily saturated orange and deepen the shadows. So a little bit about me. I started Brogna Arts around September of 2020. The last year brought a lot of changes for all of us. I wasn't happy with what I was doing at the time, and I had seen all of the creative things that my friends were doing, so I decided to try and make an art business. I should say that I do practice many forms of art, and I am both a visual artist and a performer, so I have lots of creative friends that have been looking for something to do, and I was inspired by what they had made in a year with so much devastation. I went to school to study musical theater. I've been very fortunate to have paid jobs as an actor in the past, but this past year theaters have been closed, so it's been very challenging. The industry that I was building a career in currently does not exist. But that has nothing to do with painting. As sad as it has been, I have been very thankful for the time I have had to reconnect with my visual arts. I would say I'd love to pursue a sustainable career in both performing and visual arts. I'm not quite sure how to make that work at the moment, but we will figure it out along the way, hopefully. Now, to talk about my art experience, I had previously done art as a kid while growing up and just taking art classes at my public high school. I am dyslexic, so I was always scared of challenging myself by taking challenging courses with lots of reading. I am a slow reader and I try to avoid reading, which is horrible. We should all try to read more. But in high school, I did art and theater consistently. Here I am starting on the bathrobe. I am using a red madder lake as an initial wash. Then I am building up the shadows with more saturation of the same pigment and eventually going in with some Payne's gray to deepen the shadows as well. When I was looking at colleges, I was looking at both art schools and performing arts schools. The performing arts one because most of my nights would end past midnight with me alone in the kitchen working on art for class due the next morning. My senior year of high school, I did AP Art. It was one of 2 APs that I actually took. I did get a 5 on my portfolio, which was great. And I will say that AP Art was harder than AP Calculus. The concentration really kicked my butt. It was hard for me to produce at such a speed and think of new concepts all the time for the series. I was doing full 9x12 pieces every 2 weeks. My concentration was exploring the relationship of humans and music, which If you look back at all of my high school artwork, in one way or another, it is related to the performing arts, and I know what performance inspired each piece. If you'd like me to share my AP art portfolio with you, or my other high school artwork, let me know. I will see what I have lying around. I haven't really figured out a way to marry my technical art skills with theater just because they are so vastly different, and I am sort of pursuing two separate careers at once, which provides its own challenges. In college, I did have some moments where my visual arts did come in handy. I remember we had a couple small group projects where I would design something, and there was this one where we needed to do small theatrical pieces about Greek myths, and we had to reference a famous piece of artwork. So I got my group to paint a version of Monet's lily pads on a giant tarp. I think we got house paints to paint it, and I tried to sort of make it easy, like a paint by numbers thing, and everyone in the group did a great job. I'm surprised they even put up with me, and it honestly turned out really cool. In March of 2020, I was living in New York City as an actor. I had been there for roughly 4 to 6 months, and during that time I was auditioning for Broadway shows, national tours, and other regional theaters. And on March 12th, I was at an audition for a tour. I made it through the entire day, through all of the cuts, and the casting director said that they were going to have callbacks on Tuesday, but they didn't really know what was happening because Broadway shut down while I was at the audition. Shortly after that, I lost all of my support jobs in New York City, and I had no reason to be there. Theater was shut down and I couldn't make any money, so I moved back to Massachusetts with my parents for the spring. I got pretty restless there because, of course, the one thing that I wanted to do, I couldn't. In July, I moved down to the Jersey Shore because I got a seasonal job there in a restaurant. Towards the end of the summer, when things were slowing down, I kind of was wondering what was next. I was on the phone with one of my friends, and I had the idea of starting an art business, and she was in full support, so that's when I started Brogna Arts. So far, in the 5 months that I've been doing this, my biggest source of income has been commissions. I am very thankful for those commissions, but I want to branch out and make more art products like prints, postcards, and greeting cards. I would love to see where all of this could take me. The goal would be to build a sustainable business that I'm able to live off of, and act at the same time, of course. Some other fun things about me that I put on the illustration sheet are my likes and dislikes. Some of my likes will be obvious at this point, but I love art and theater. My favorite musical is Camelot. I love The Girls, Gays, and Theys because I belong to that community. Frogs are my favorite animals, and period dramas or fantasy TV and film are probably my favorite genre currently. I just finished The Crown and Bridgerton, so let me know what you recommend if you also like the same genres as me. For my hair, I used Payne's Gray again. There isn't much to say about the small amount of hair in this composition, but if you'd like me to explain how I paint hair, let me know. I'd love to share what you'd like to see. My dislikes are this past year and theaters being closed, but I am happy that people are being responsible and keeping them closed to keep people safe. I scare very easily, so I hate horror movies. I also hate finances. Spending money is something that terrifies me, and that's been challenging when I need to invest in myself to grow a business, aka a printer, which I am still putting off. I dislike reading, which I talked about earlier. I hate video editing, which is ironic because you're watching a video right now. I just think it's time-consuming, and I would rather spend that time painting. But videos are a good way to put myself out there and put my art out there as well. I used ultramarine for the background because it is my favorite color, but I honestly regret using it for the background because it is too dark for this picture. The light on the figure is coming from the left side behind the shoulder, so I wish I did something lighter to capture the lightness in the room. Now, this is a messy hair version of my profile image just for laughs, because I know some people were confused on what I looked like based on my profile picture. Basically, right now, I look like Lord Farquaad with my hair down. You can see my face in my studio vlog. I finished the illustration by adding washes to the info boxes and then going over the text with a Sharpie. This brings us to the end of the video. I want to ask you what you'd like to see out of me moving forward. Would you like to see more Paint With Me videos where I chat with you, studio vlogs to see my day, or product reviews to get to know the materials I use? Let me know down below in the comments, and also let me know what other questions you have for me about art or myself. If you liked this video, please tap the like button. It would mean the world to me and the YouTube algorithm. And subscribe to join me on my art journey. Thank you for joining me today at Brogna Arts.